Welcome to the Upsiders. What's up? Time Traveler's Guide from to the Present. I'm Los. That's Bertram, also known as.
Nothing.
Yeah, we're just.
I got you, brother. I don't need to say anything.
I didn't even
You're doing
get
a
to
great job.
real good introductions today, but yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Upsiders. Again, your Time Traveler's Guide to the Present. We're so
Yes.
happy you're here. If you got here, you managed to navigate to these parts, feel free to subscribe or follow, however your
Mm.
podcast app works. Make sure to share with your friends, loved ones, worst enemies. And yeah, stay tuned for more of our episodes and feel free to look around on what we've posted so far.
Post
But
about us on Reddit.
post about us on
Say
Reddit.
you should listen to the Upsiders.
Yeah, exactly. Post about us on maybe no other social network. Okay, whatever you use, do it. TikTok, Instagram, just get the word out. Listen to the Upsiders.
MySpace.
MySpace.
Is MySpace still exist and just nobody goes to it, or they shut that thing down?
I don't know. As of a couple years ago, it was still around, but we'll find out. You dedicated
Bring it
MySpace
back.
users, you'll know. But
That's blocked.
Bertram, so
Yeah.
in another life, you are an educator. Is that right?
Nope.
Okay. I thought
Don't know
so.
what you're talking about. No, I run a bait and tackle store. I run a bait shop.
I thought you were Slate Construction. Um,
No, man, no. They fired me from that job.
I see.
Yes, I am a school teacher.
And currently in high school, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything from third grade to 12th grade.
Okay. So you're seeing this new generation, right? Gen
Yeah,
Z.
yeah.
You're even headed
Well,
into
and
Gen
as
Alpha, right?
as a teacher, as an old man now, who's just been in the classroom for like 13 years, I now work with Gen Z because
Yeah.
Gen
You've seen
Z has
Gen Z
been.
through. Like when you first got
Yeah, they've been.
started, they were kids.
Yeah, I've mentored a Gen Z in the classroom, which is real weird.
Wow.
They're teachers now, Los. So
That's
they're
crazy.
coworkers.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
For those who don't know, Gen Z is a generation that starts in 1997, spanning all the way
mm.
to what is that, 2012? Am I right? 2012,
So
2011?
they missed almost all of Seinfeld, is what you're telling me.
They missed the entirety of, yeah, basically. If they were
I will say
babies,
Seinfeld ended like '98. Yeah,
yeah, if they were 1 year olds hanging around the TV, they may
man.
have caught the last season, but yeah, by and large, yeah. Michael Jordan's career, they missed
They saw the Wizards.
oh,
They might have been more of a Stackhouse person. I don't know.
no,
They say Michael's great, but he's not even the best player on that team. They
but they
love Stack.
they definitely seen all of LeBron James.
Oh
So
wow,
yeah.
jeez, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, basically,
absolutely.
yeah, that's crazy. So they've seen all of LeBron James and he's still playing. And he's what in year 23 that he's gonna come in? Yeah. So anyway,
Jeez.
Gen
They saw
Z,
all of Andrea Bargnani too.
you only needed to be around like 3 weeks. Okay. So Gen Z, as
Yeah.
you are working with them, I'm working with them a little bit now. In fact, I'm working with them a lot. What have you noticed of Gen Z in the
Mm.
workforce?
You know, that's really interesting too, because you and I, man, what year did you start working?
Oh man. Like working, not just like having a job.
Oh, I meant like how old were you when you had your first job?
Oh, how old was I when I was almost 16. So that was
Yeah, so
yeah, mid 2000s.
yeah, I was probably like 2002,
Wow. Yeah.
2003 when I started
Yeah.
working,
We
somewhere around
we
there.
were the newbies. They were adjusting to working with millennials.
Yeah, but and I bring that up because that means we worked with a lot of old codgers, right? I think that might put me towards the end of the greatest generation. I might have worked with some of those people too. I mean, I certainly was raised by the greatest generation with in terms of grandparents and things like that. So I think it's really interesting to think about Gen Z when I compare to those people, right? It seemed like to define Gen Z, I need to define the generations before us, and it seemed like it was very typical to stay in one place, put in
Mhm.
your 50 years or whatever, get the gold watch, retire, and do one thing for a really long time. And now that the world is moving so much faster, we've seen so much stuff in our lifetime, Los.
Yeah.
I grew up. I was. I remember when you know cell phones came out, things like that. Like I didn't have a cell phone growing up. I didn't have a computer growing up. Things of that nature, and just watching how the internet became a thing, and I feel like before Gen Z and right as we were entering the workplace, it was typical for people to work a very standard job for a really long time and do that one thing. For example, toll booth operator.
Yeah.
I was talking about it with my wife when we were coming back from Chicago a couple weeks ago, and I said, "You realize there was some guy who was in that toll booth for 50 years and he never left? Like that's what he did every single day." And so with Gen Z coming in, they don't seem to have any of that expectation, right? Which
Hmm.
teachers teach that way. Oh, you got to find a career that you're going to get into. And it seems
Hmm.
like, and based on some of the research that we have for you today, it seems like that's no longer going to happen, right? Is that you're not
Yeah.
going to stay in a job and you might not even stay in the same industry for super long. And so I noticed Gen Z comes in and they're not super committed for better or worse because for them it's a job. It's something
Yeah.
that they're doing temporarily essentially.
Yeah. And I feel like that started with us, meaning millennials, in that I've worked in tech for a while now. What, 12 years, something like that. Um, and it's always there's always questions asked of you if they see on your resume where you've been at one place for like more than 2 or 3 years. Like, question then becomes, and I've seen it in interviews. So why were you at such and such place for 4 years? And you navigate, explain why. But back with our parents and the generations before that, it was like, oh yeah, you were only there for 3 years. And so, yeah, there was this velocity, there was this just movement of we go place to place. And I think millennials also redefined entrepreneurship to a degree, again, in tech with
Yeah.
startups and things of that nature. But there was still we were still almost yeah, we were still disruptive, but within the paradigm of like how people were working. Now it's like Gen Z's flipping that on their heads, right? Now you've heard, and we covered
Mm.
this in our last podcast that we had, Mad Mad World, on things like quiet quitting and
Yeah.
having just these demands of we need this to be able to do productive work. And yeah, it's just things that people weren't used to. And so now, when we're looking at Gen Z trends, now that they've matured into the workplace to a certain degree, again, 1997, that would mean your oldest millennial is heading into their 30s, what, age 28 at this point, as of recording.
Oh well.
So now we've had some sample data of what the real impact is. And so that's what we wanted to highlight, some of the good things that we've been seeing and how
Yeah.
that could inform how those who may be of Gen Z age or even younger are listening on where they could go with their careers. So yeah, Bertram,
You
what
think
did what
you,
did you find?
you think it all do you think it all traces back to Fight Club? Fight Club came out in 1999. I think we covered it in My Mad World where I think you brought it up the quote, "You are not your job."
Yeah, not your job.
You think that took over?
I think
Now
so.
we're all
We
we all
started
heard that.
this.
Now we know we're not, yeah. Nobody's my Uncle Bob who worked for the railroad for like 50
Yeah.
years or 40 years or 30 years. And I always tell the story of Uncle Bob because that dude was retired my entire life. When I first went down to see him, he had to be 50s, 60s maybe. I think he
Mhm.
was in his 60s, and he was done, and he had been retired for a long time, and he was making some money. And hey, man, those jobs don't really exist too much anymore. There's I think they're still out there a little bit. I hear some stories from some Uber drivers, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I think they're kind of gone.
So yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. So I
Yeah,
think what you've come across or stumbled upon is that some of these
yeah,
things that I just listed, right? They're not necessarily
yeah.
bad things, they're actually good things.
Yeah. And so that brings us to our the debut of our new recurring segment. Are you ready, Los?
I'm ready. What you got for me?
Okay, this it's called That's Actually an Upside. So
Mm,
taking something that seems bad on the surface,
yeah.
and then the upsiders are going to spin it around and see if we can find the positive in it. And I think it sounds like one of the first problems that we're talking about for this is Gen Z job hops too much. So, do you feel um, that that is more negative or positive, Los? And maybe we need to talk about the negative of it.
Okay. What could be the negative? Because we're just,
Um,
yeah,
continuity. You know, if
continuity.
you job hop too much, workplaces and employees are unable to get some continuity, able to dig in and spend a lot of time learning something. Right? We did the episode on repair cafes, and we talked about how new generations are lacking skills in how to fix things because we just throw it away and buy a new one. So I feel like part of that is if you're job hopping too much, you never really become an expert in getting some of those skills. Another one would be institutional knowledge. You know, you don't stay in there long enough to get the real essentials, right? I think about college when you go in and you get your prerequisites.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I didn't come here just to study prerequisites. You don't get the good classes till junior and senior year, Los.
Hmm. That's true.
And then long-term workforce stability, being able to pinpoint industries. And I think going back as a teacher, what really makes it difficult is how do you train kids who are graduating and trying to place them where they need to go. uh, do you advocate for college? Do you advocate for careers? And not really knowing what's the job market or the college market's going to look like. It used to be in 10 years or 20 years. Los, we don't know what's going to be, it's going to look like a year from now. So I think that makes things a little difficult when Gen Z job hops. Do you agree?
Yes, but my answer would be that the job um hopping is a positive. But yeah, I definitely see what you mean in that, yeah, there's no continuity. As you said, there's there's that lack of maybe a thorough understanding of the space that you're in, and just having that knowledge base that keeps growing and growing and growing. Um, but the reason why I say that it's a positive is because one, it's been you are more likely to make more money when you move externally rather than moving internally. Another is that a lot of focus tends to be nowadays on soft skills rather than hard skills. So, for example, like project management, if you know how to be an effective project manager, that can carry over from job to job and even across industries. And the demand for such skills are of high demand because those who develop it, are able to just move so quickly and are able to shift with trends that occur in the workplace and all that. So you actually create more stability for yourself with some of these soft skills rather than some hard skills, which means your trade. And if the industry sort of moves on from your trade or it gets automated, that kind of leaves you behind. So
Mm,
pairing that with, yeah, and just like, yeah, always remaining active and kind of learning new things is to see, okay,
yeah,
which companies are moving faster and where could I contribute?
man. That's a great point. I think about fit, right? Is that you can go do the same job at multiple places and have completely different experiences. You know, if you're a teacher going to one school, just based on staff, you might not fit in very well, and you end up feeling like you're incompetent. And then you go to another school, and it's just a good fit. And my heart breaks for someone who spent 20 years in a place where they didn't fit in and never really built up the ability to get out of there and go find a place where they do belong, or coworkers where they do fit, because collaboration is a really big deal in jobs in 2025. Los, I would like to point out this source, Revelio Labs. Would you pull that up and share
Oh,
the screen,
Jamie.
Losi? No, you're Losi. We
Uh,
Losi is our screen share.
yeah, so
This is an article by Jesse Wheeler. It says job hopping is a feature, not a bug for Gen Z. And I like that reframing of it, that this is something that is very important. So in this article, they have two really outstanding graphs that I like. If you want to scroll down, this is Jesse Wheeler again. And so it talks about, while baby boomers worked at an average of 3.6 companies during their 27 years of employment after age 21, Gen Z has clocked in 2.7 companies in just 2.8 years. So baby boomers have averaged 7.5 years at each company of employment, while Gen Zers are averaging just one. And Jesse talks about the pragmatic response to changing labor market conditions and how we got to shift around. Look at how long baby boomers stay in that
that's
job, which
crazy.
goes back, right?
Yeah.
You used to be able to retire off those 30 years.
There
And
was a
then Gen
pension
Xers,
here.
man,
Yeah.
and look at how much Gen X got cut off, right? We often skip poor Gen X. We're friends with Gen X. I don't have any problems with Gen X. I love those. They all watched X-Men with me. You know, they helped raise me. They were the older brothers. And looking at that, that's a concerning drop off of, 7 years basically, that they stayed at a company. And
Well,
then millennials,
this was the end of the pension era, heading into the first sort of 401k. So we saw that they were more invested into that.
yeah.
I don't know what I just
And
did.
then what concerns me, what's interesting is, so this is age post 21. So
Mhm.
they're saying that millennials stay, oh, like, what was that, 9 years or 8 years? I, I
I
don't remember what
can't.
it said. But
It's
then
just
I thought this graph was also really interesting. It's the millennial 10-year gap.
mhm.
And so this is what industries people are job hopping. And so you see, like, digital commerce services are a year, business services are a year, sports management. That's an interesting one to have on there.
Yeah.
And then some of the ones that have longer are aerospace and defense, which
Oh
makes
yeah,
sense because
that
I
makes
imagine
sense.
if you're a contractor for that, you make some bank and you ain't leaving.
Yeah, and those are longer contracts and yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the industries?
Yeah, they make sense. You see professional development services. That's kind of what I'm in right now. Um, business services, research and development. These are all very fast moving industries. So it makes sense versus, yeah, your materials manufacturing, engineering, construction services, industrial. All of these, when you're looking at projects in these industries that take a little longer here, these are years, right? So 18
Yeah.
to 24 months are usually the cycles for completing a lot of these projects, sometimes longer. Construction,
Mm.
36 months. Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense. It's very enlightening though.
Well, and while we're looking at some of these, ooh, interesting. I like to see the millennials and Gen Z shop around. I will quote from another article from Fortune, by Emma Burley. It's not even for the money. Job hopping has lost its compensation edge, as the salary difference between people who stay in their jobs and those who switch has reached the lowest level it's been in 10 years. Employees who stayed put at their jobs received a 4.6 wage bump in January and February of this year, while those who switched gigs only received a marginally higher increase of 4.8%, only a 0.2% difference. What do you make of
Oh,
that,
so
Los?
it's
That right
changed.
now, yeah. which is that concerning to you? Is that a good thing that there's does that mean people aren't getting paid no matter where they go? There's no wage increase?
Hmm. I think it's a little, yeah, I think it's a combination. I think the market's responding. I think the compensation has maybe moved up for um companies trying to retain their employees, but also as new graduates of Gen Z could attest, the job market is a bit tougher now. It's a bit more barren. It's very competitive. Yeah, you have so many applicants submitting dozens, hundreds of applications without getting a bite on it. So I think it's almost preservation too, where you have you have uh you have just workers who want to, they're okay with staying put, but they still have the leverage. So it's like, okay, I could leave, but yeah, I'll apply for this job, and the company might be very grateful and maybe
Yeah.
relieved that they'll get to retain. So they're up in the pay a little bit.
Well, and I have it somewhere I saw in one of the articles. Oh, maybe it was the Fortune article about how AI is cutting out a lot of the entry level jobs, and so that's another reason that Gen Z are really considering all their options. The reality, this is from Fortune, Gen Z is considering their long term career goals when making job change decisions the most of any other generation. They're incredibly ambitious, even when facing unique circumstances that Gen Xers and baby boomers didn't face in their 20s. I think that's really tough thinking about how are they getting the entry level skills to then go into those high level jobs, and I think that's very concerning because now there's a lot of competition from AI.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think entry level is going to, and that term entry level is going to take in a new definition in the age of AI here, is that you're going to have to be so well qualified even before you get into your first job that it may change what job training really is in terms of
Mm,
maybe in college you're doing some on the job work to remain, a viable candidate in the space.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I was just at this place MISO. I don't remember if we talked about it. We talked about MISO.
No, I've never heard of.
MISO is a company in Carmel, Indiana, that I got to hang out with for the day, and they control the energy grid for 9 states in the Midwest. And they're a really big player, very and they work with a lot of Purdue grads, specifically with engineering. They have a lot of competitive jobs. They're doing really important stuff. They work in the energy sector. It was a really awesome place to go work. And what they've started doing is most internships are usually for senior year of college, right? Or fresh out of college. And what they've done is they've built a program that starts freshman year of college where they go in and start teaching kids those skills early on and have a 4 year program where they ramp up. And it really seems like, a lot of other companies need to do that because if they're the only ones doing it, they get to cherry pick some of the best
Yeah.
candidates early in college. So some of these kids are ready to go, Los, from a very young age. And so I imagine it's going to start being competitive how some of these employers are going to fight over really top skilled candidates and really train them and make sure they give them the skills from a young age. So I the optimistic, upsider of me thinks this is sorting itself out. Wouldn't you agree?
I think so. I think so. And I think Gen Z is very bright. They've had so much exposure to so much information that they're able to pivot so much easier than even our generation, but for sure earlier generations.
Los, we have another new segment this week. We have the word of the week, Los.
What word of the week? Okay. What we got?
Yeah. Well, today it's a phrase. It's something eh, for my word of the week. It has to be something I've never heard of. I know you've heard of it because you've
Yeah.
heard of everything because you know everything.
No,
Los is basically a computer.
I'm not.
Los was the first AI. Y'all don't know that.
Los
The
GPT.
word of
That's what
the
they call
week.
me.
Mm, the word of the week is a phrase. It's called coffee badging.
Oh, okay.
Los, do you want to explain what coffee badging is since you already know what it is?
Uh, so a coffee badging, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, but this is a response to return to office policies where there was this resistance from, and there still is from a lot of companies, get your employees back into the office, enough of this quote unquote remote work nonsense. And so they would set these minimums that you have to be in office. So maybe that's 3 days a week, 4 days a week, every day but Friday, something like that. And so, in order for employees to um, adhere to these requirements, they'd go to the office, tap their badge, go in, sit there, maybe grab a cup of coffee for just a
Get a cup
bit,
of
and
coffee.
then they just dip.
Yep.
And so they were like, okay,
Go
you
do
could
their work
see in
from
the
home.
data, I was there, I was in the office, I spoke to my manager, he saw me, and then, you just go home. Did I get that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was perfect. And what I thought was really interesting, um, is the statistics. 58% of employees admitted to the behavior. Then 44% of U.S. employees still admitted that they coffee badge in the 2024 State of Hybrid Work report. Interestingly, 70% of the employees were caught by their boss, but without much effect. 59% of employers didn't mind when they found out their employees were making a brief stop in the office. And that's what I notice is the important part, right? Is that I know several people who, several friends in their jobs where they basically coffee badge, where they have a meeting and then they go get their work done. And what I notice is that the best employers are the ones who are fine with coffee badging and then don't have frequent check-ins. And I see my friends doing the most efficient, well done maker work, if that makes sense. The places that try and micromanage end up not doing very well, and their employees don't achieve that much, which we all know, right?
Yeah.
We've known since the beginning of work that there are some people just phoning it in, unless you're on like the assembly line in a Ford plant where you have to do this. And in my case, I'm someone who can't do it, right? Because
Yeah.
I have students in front of me. I can't just swipe a badge, be like, I'm going home, because then nobody watches the kids. But I do notice in education,
Yeah.
people who don't have students, who aren't right in front of the students, they coffee badge all the time.
Mm.
Less, in fact, they coffee badge almost on a daily basis if
Oh
they don't
my.
have to watch kids. And that's the education system. So if you're wondering where all these people are, if they're not with kids, they're dipping out.
you get to you get to the office and the
Yeah.
the receptionist or whatever is just not
Hey, where's
there.
the principal? Gone. Oh, it's administration usually.
Yeah,
Administration just doesn't show up.
just never showed up. I could see that. But yeah, word of the week. I see coffee badging. Yeah.
Coffee badging. Yeah. We also have another new segment this week,
Uh-oh.
Lowe's.
This is a whole new show.
Yes. Man, we got all sorts of segments and all sorts of new things. Welcome to branding, my friend. This is the Curiosity Collective presents the Unsung Hero of the Upside. So every week we pick some hero in this space who's making it a better place. And today I picked this person I've been researching for the week, Alexia Cambon. And so she runs the Microsoft team for, it's called the Copilot and Future of Work team. And what I really liked about what I read is she seems to really have the back of Gen Z. She is not a Gen Zer, obviously. She's worked her way up pretty high, a high level in Microsoft. And so she seems to be one of these Simon Sinek types where I really loved the work of Simon Sinek years ago when he advocated for millennials, right? He was our spokesperson who was like, you got to change the way that you're working with people for millennials. And now I realize, oh dang, Simon Sinek's been around so much that he's now an old, and we got to have somebody rep for Gen Z. And so I'm curious if Alexia Cambon can be that. And so she is really pushing a lot of these behaviors, and what she's noting is, it's not great to try and resist a lot of this Gen Z stuff. You're going to have to cater to this new workforce if you want to succeed as a company, because ultimately it's a competition, right? Los loves, capitalist Los Friedman knows that the best companies are ones that adapt. And so that's how organizations need to change. Otherwise, they will fail. Los, one of my favorite YouTubes, I listened to three of them today, is called Company Man. You know Company Man?
Oh yeah, yeah. Them great videos.
Oh yeah, just the fall of all these companies. And one thing you learn is all these companies, if they don't adjust or fix, it's so easy to go out of business now in 2025. So you're looking at, Toys R Us, or man, Long John Silver's was the place to be when I was a kid, and now I'm pretty sure they're all haunted. You see one person in the drive-through, and maybe that's the employee. And so I really like how Alexia Cambon is really pushing for companies to adapt to Gen Z instead of trying to get Gen Z to adapt to them. And I notice a much more positive work culture in places like MISO. I see, lots of flexible working spaces, allowing people to go work to their best self, and not just have cubicles upon cubicles. It seems like office space is slowly becoming less relevant as we age. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I think I've always, yeah, in my opinion, has been if the majority of your work is contained within a laptop, then you need to justify the office because
Yeah,
I could
absolutely.
take that anywhere, right? So whether yeah, in a lot of these companies who are trying to bring employees out are trumpeting, oh, collaboration, blah blah blah, camaraderie.
Absolutely.
Well, it's like you
Yeah.
have to prove
We're a
that.
family here.
Yeah, I need to feel as if, okay, I have my computer, but I can work so much better if I go to the office than when I'm not in there. And so I think that's the challenge that companies have to prove to us because as we see in the job market, it's hard for companies to hire, but they're also hard to, hire other employees. So yeah, 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 office means not as much as it used to be.
Yeah, man, we got to treat people like adults.
Yeah, please.
And I think it was Alexia who was talking about it. Is one of the things that she pointed out in one of the articles in the show notes is that with online work and emails, essentially, if you drop someone in the 1950s into work today, it would really seem overwhelming because when you have emails and meetings and all these things, your boss is essentially disrupting you every 2 minutes. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Is that picture a 1950s worker in a cubicle and your boss is coming to talk to you every 2 minutes about something else. You'll never get anything done. And it's causing a lot of overwhelming stress on our brains. And we need to figure a way around that so that we're not just constantly on and sending emails and communicating. And I know I do that in my job all the time, right? As I'm constantly sending emails and chatting with bosses and doing all sorts of things. And it's overwhelming work, man.
Yeah. No, it's like I was I was coming in to this, yeah, to the office world, like right when chatting became a thing. I think I was WebEx when I first started, and then it became Slack. And I'm trying to
Oh dang.
remember what was it like before. It almost sounds dreamy if I get to remove Slack from the equation, like all of this constant, like,
Oh man.
the notification sound. Like, man, that'd be amazing. But or yeah, if you
You
take it back to
never leave work.
the 1950s, it was just a lot of, oh man, there was this Pixar short that I used to like. It was just like had something to do with paper. I can't remember. But this worker, he was just like overwhelmed and his boss would just rack a bunch of papers on his desk. And yeah, and then he started throwing like paper planes out the window, and then that became a whole thing. But yeah, that's how it was to work at a cubicle back in the day, and that's not even up to the 50s. That's going probably all the way up to the 90s. You'd have to deal with a bunch of papers on your desk, but now that paper has manifested itself into those little instant messages that just keep on, and that's in combination with your emails. So it's just a lot now.
Man, remember memos? Ooh, man.
Oof. Wow.
I put a memo in your mailbox. Go away. Get away from me. I'm throwing it in the trash. You know that happened all the time. And that's emails. And now I see it gives me anxiety when I see someone at work and they have 1,000 unread emails.
Oh
That
man.
doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, oh man, I ain't sending you anything. You ain't never getting back to me. How
Yeah,
many emails you got unread in your inbox, Lowe's?
I got a lot. But to be fair, a lot of those are like system alerts from like, no, no, it could be like from Asana or some of these other applications that give me more
What?
stuff to do.
It's what?
Hmm? Asana?
Masana?
Asana?
What's that?
It's a project management
Why
application.
do you know so much, man? You
It's
know
what we
everything in the
use.
world.
It's what we
You guys don't know this, but Los knows
I don't
everything. If
anyone
you
listening to this are
Los, who
like,
won the
I know
Super
what
Bowl in
Asana is.
1978?
Stop it.
1978. Who won the
Stop
Super Bowl?
it. Was it the Steelers? It probably was the
I
Steelers.
would
Yeah.
guess if it's the Steelers.
Um,
Super Bowl.
I think that may have
The
been.
Cowboys beat the Denver Broncos. You were
Oh,
close,
okay.
Los.
I
You
was
were
close.
close.
I was close. Okay.
Dang, man.
Um,
You, we'll add it in post that you said the Cowboys. Are you ready for our last segment?
okay. Yeah,
All right, Los, I designed this one perfectly for you and your genius brain and how quick you are thinking on your feet. Okay, so
sure.
this is think of it like the end of Pardon the Interruption, where we have the big finish. So this is called reality check. So I'm gonna name something off here, and you have to say whether it's real or it's a myth, and then explain it for a little bit.
Okay.
Now you have to get through 7 of them, and you have a minute. So you got like a sentence or two to explain these, and I figured you'd be perfect at it, and I wouldn't. So I'd be asking, and you'll be answering. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Reality check. 1 minute on the clock. Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
All right. 1 minute starts. Gen Z is lazy. Is that real or myth?
Myth. It's a myth because what does lazy even mean? Okay.
Okay. They only communicate with emojis and memes.
False.
Okay, so that's a myth.
I'm kidding. That's true.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Uh,
Gen Z expects to be promoted after 6 months.
false. I think they want to put in more time. They just have a different way of doing things.
Hmm. They're too sensitive for the workplace.
False. Same answer as before.
Gen Z is job hopping and has no loyalty.
True.
Hmm. They are entitled and don't want to pay their dues.
False. Again, they just operate in a different way. They have different goals.
They don't want to work in person. They want to stay home.
They want to work in person. I really do think they want to work in person. Collaboration.
That's time, Los. You did an
Okay.
amazing job.
How
Well
many did I
done.
get to?
You got all of them.
Oh, and our research department did come back with something. It was about the
Yeah, what they come back with.
1978 Super Bowl. So the
Okay,
Broncos
go for
did
it.
beat the Cowboys in the year
Okay.
1978, but that was from the 1977 season. So the
Ah,
1978 year is when the Steelers actually won. So, and they beat the Dallas Cowboys.
he's never wrong, ladies and gentlemen. He's never wrong. He's the
I
Superman
grew
of
up with
just
this
knowledge.
I grew up with this Super Bowl cassette tape that went all the way to up until when I was a kid. It must have been 92, 93, something like that, maybe 94. So I watched that video who knows how many times. So it's like especially 70s and 80s is just embedded. But anyway, go ahead.
Who's your favorite legendary player?
Legendary player? Oh, from the
Yeah,
Super
like an
Bowl era?
no, just like an old school player that you're like,
Yeah.
oh man, I
Lynn
love like
Swan,
Joe
since we
Green or
talked
something.
about the
Oh,
because he was a
okay,
receiver and he was always great, just like in the playoffs and Super Bowl, never stood out in the regular season. But yeah, anyway, back
man,
to
well
you.
done. I'm so proud of you.
Okay, so how do we score with the whole myths and reality thing?
Well, you got 7 out of 7, brother.
Okay, cool. They're not lazy.
You
Yeah.
know,
Gen Z is not
Los, you're
lazy.
always gonna get 7 out of 7. I'm just letting you know. You could do no wrong. It's automatic. I changed whatever the answers were based on what you say.
Yeah. But yeah, just to address some of these myths, Gen Z is not lazy. They just have a different way of doing things. And I think that relates to many of the other answers that I gave. They do want to get promoted. Again, it's just they've
Yeah.
seen so much in terms of they saw their parents get laid off like during the Great
Mm.
Recession. towards COVID, probably when they were maybe early in their careers or in high school and things like that. Um, so now they have a different view of how work is. And so they have a different way of approaching things. They have so many different options. They have technology at their disposal and they know how to take advantage of that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we're living in their world. So it's like, well, pretty soon we won't even have to talk about Gen Z anymore, the same way we don't talk about millennials anymore, because it's like, if it's their world, it's not a Gen Z. It's just they're the norm,
Yeah.
So
Wow. Well said, buddy.
cool.
You're amazing.
This was a great episode. Hopefully, those, younger generations who are listening to this know that you have options, know that it's okay to stay at your job because, hey, they're paying more money now, but
Yeah.
also you could do literally whatever you want to do. And I think that used to be an aspirational statement with Gen X and to a degree millennials, but now it's like in actuality. Gen Z,
Mm.
well, millennials too, you're not too old, guys. Come on, cut it out. But
Ah, my back.
yeah, millennials don't give up yet. Come on. But Gen Zs especially, you could do whatever you want. You're in the driver's seat. You have the controls right now. So yeah, in some of my own stuff, we'll probably put this in the show notes. I've also highlighted how Gen Z are embracing the trades now. So
Yeah,
even going into
absolutely.
blue collar work. So yeah, maybe we'll cover that in a future episode, but make sure to take a look at some of this stuff that we'll share. But yeah, Bertram,
I
any
can't wait until we do an episode on what millennials are doing with retired life. Like what are us old people doing? Are we watching Nickelodeon classic Doug? How come Doug is in the news again? All these old millennials, all they do is watch old Nickelodeon shows.
do you think a lot of
Keenan and
us
Kel get famous again. Do a Keenan and Kel reboot when they're 60 years old.
will some of us for those us non-content creators, like, and we are obviously because we're making, but like,
Yeah.
are people gonna content create in retirement? Like, are you gonna say, oh, I'm gonna start making TikToks now that I'm retired or some whatever the equivalent will be
Yeah.
10, 15 years from now?
I want to be one of those people that get paid money to just eat food and show pictures of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to
Or
this
go on
restaurant. I had a
trips.
chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to review chicken sandwiches.
You could do that.
Yeah, chicken sandwich was pretty good.
That may be
Try it. Give it a
Bertram's
shot.
next channel on the Curiosity Color.
Yeah, I'll get that one going next. Yeah, Curiosity Collective, man, we're taking
Chicken
over.
sandwich
Hopefully,
trip.
maybe. Yeah.
Okay,
If
but
anybody wants me to review their chicken sandwich, let me know.
Bertram, any last words here?
I'm just proud of you, man. I love you. You're so smart.
No, I'm proud of you, buddy. Thanks for coming up with these new segments, living up the show. And thanks for you, audience, listening here. Make sure, subscribe, follow the podcast, leave a like, leave a review if you can. Share this podcast with anyone, whether that's here in video, if you're watching, you're seeing me wave at you. If you're listening, you're hearing me wave at you. And,
Hi.
and hopefully we'll catch you later. But on behalf of Bertram, I'm Los, and I'll see you not just on the other side. I'll see you on the upside. We should put an eagle sound effect in there somewhere. But anyway,
Oh, that sounds great.
bye bye and mahalo.